force of some 30,000 full-time and 15,000 part-time soldiers, ranging from our Chief of Army, Lieutenant General Rick Burr, through to the privates that are entering Kapuka, or our recruit training centre, today and tomorrow. Our Army is still operating throughout Australia and overseas. And I'll talk to some of these organisations, but you'll see we're organised into our Army headquarters, and I'm a staff officer working in Army headquarters. I look after myself, not 600 people, but yeah, we train to scale up and scale down. If I was looking after 600 people, I'd also have some majors and captains and a Warrant Officer Class 1 to help me out in the in defined roles and structures as we undertake our jobs. So the job of a commanding officer commanding 600 folks is made perhaps all the easier through those structures and training, and it's something we continue to develop as we bring our officers and senior NCOs through their training continuum. So Army headquarters, I work through a number of senior officers, eventually to the Chief of Army. Army's organised into its 2-star commands, I'd call it that. So Chief of Army is a 3-star, 2-star commands within Forces Command that owns about 85% of the troops, looks after the force generation cycle. It looks after our training schools and the combat brigades. Our 1st Division, which also provides our joint deployable force headquarters, is another 2-star command that looks after operational aspects. Special Operations Command generates special operations effects. It is intimately involved in the global war on terror. Our 2nd Division is the home for most of our reserve capability. And the Army Joint Staff, our contribution to the rest of the Department of Defence. It's both overseas in Australia. So we have officers and soldiers, NCOs, in places like the Joint Operations Command. Those folks that are helping out, perhaps in the COVID security operations, are force assigned to Joint Operations Command to undertake those jobs. Our broad mission is to prepare that land power in order to enable the joint force for peace and war. And as I say, we force assign to Joint Operations Command to undertake that work. We're guided by a number of strategic documents. These are nested under the other strategic guidance that Nick called out. Army in Motion is essentially saying that we are living in quite a dynamic environment, and Army needs to be ready now and future ready. And there is a balance of investing in being ready now versus allocating resources, investments, and taking some risk in exploring what we need to be like in the future. The Army operating system, you'll see there, it's preparedness, meeting our commitments to what has been directed for Army to deliver and have ready at a particular degree of notice. Our people capability system is where I see the day-to-day enhancements in human performance being actioned in our policy and practices. And land capability system tends to talk about the modernisation of capability. Next slide, Angela, please. So we build a force with broad utility. I'm sure my colleagues in Navy and Air Force will talk to the application of their groups, but Army can see a broad range of people-to-people interaction. Humanitarian assistance, you've seen that through bushfire assist. Angela earlier mentioned the Olympic Games with Kathy Freeman. I saw Kathy's run from our operations centre in the operational support battalion, where we had 4,500 people supporting the Sydney Games. Right now, we've got some 3,000 people in the field assisting with COVID tasks. So Army trains its folks to a high standard and apply those skills to a broad range of jobs. Partner capacity is something that the latest strategic guidance has emphasised. So I've had the privilege to operate with PNG and Tongan and New Zealand Defence Forces. They're great folks and we work well with them. And those are the sort of things we need to do, or we will be doing more of. Security operations, and the last square there in the bottom right quadrant, joint land combat, as the everything from a mid-range to high-end warfighting. Next slide, please. I'll now turn to where I live, Land Capability Division. It sits within Army headquarters, and this is what I call the modernisation engine room for Army. It's where so Army spends, or will spend over the next 10 years, almost $60 billion in keeping itself running, and about half of that will go to new investments. Some will be the likes of our Land 400 or new modernisation of our land vehicle fleet. This is the replacements for our armoured personnel carriers, through to our large trucks, through to air defence systems and artillery. So this addresses the Chief of Army, CA's modernisation priorities of being networked, protected and enabled, adding to that increasing lethality with improved joint fires. And with that, Army is on the hook to invest in self-propelled armoured artillery, air defence systems, and ultimately missile artillery. So ranges out to currently 100, 200, 300 Ks. And these are guided by the range of documents I spoke to earlier, and are nested within the guidance that government provides and informs our investment decisions. Next slide, please, Angela. Within Land Capability Division, we're organised into these 8 programs. So the programs are responsible for the end-to-end management of capability. And so take an example, my own area is dismounted combat. We look to the small arms, the rifles, pistols, everything up to anti-tank guided weapons. The through-life management of that, so determining its future need, the requirements, acquisition, and through-life management through to disposal. So this is the group that will be managing the investment of that, I mentioned $30 billion or so over the next 10 years in new combat vehicles. Our combat support is where the air defence systems and artillery is, the mobility systems, battlefield aviation, talk to rotary wing helicopters. These are managed out of Russell offices in Canberra, with dependencies throughout Australia. There are a number of inputs that go into that. So we take from the joint guidance from force design and force structures, noting that when these various programs deliver on, so let's say, a new fleet of armoured personnel carriers that'll arrive in 2023, 2025, it's a question of what will that look like and what new challenges that will bring. Next slide, thanks. So human performance sits within dismounted combat program, and I suppose I'll perhaps expand upon that. So that's where we are investing in these modernisation initiatives and where we manage the research portfolio. An important part of what we're doing in human performance clearly lives with the functional commands, those 2-star commands I mentioned earlier. So I think a number of my colleagues are online. So within Forces Command, there's a group that are getting after human performance optimization, ensuring that a physical preparation, sleep, nutrition, our training continuum, teaming initiatives, are as good as they can be. So we'd like to get those right. It's a bit of noise online. Through my lens, I'm looking at what does the future force need, 5, 10 years out. What are the challenges that adopting a new exquisite fleet of sensors, exquisite changeover of far more capable night vision equipment, what challenges will that bring? How can we prepare the soldier in 2, 3, 5, 10 years' time to embrace that technology and get the most out of it? And these are the challenges that will continue to face us. In this aspect, we're threat informed, informed by our strategic guidance, and we're looking at making investments within the budget that we've been given by government. Next slide, thanks. So my specific focus for human performance is looking at our people can outsmart, outperform, and outlast our adversaries. We're looking ahead at a environment where our capability advantage, which has been for a long time provided through technological overmatch, is no longer guaranteed. There's many potential adversaries there that have easy access in a connected world to repurposing technologies that were generated for civilian uses, and very capable potential adversaries. In this space of human performance, human systems, it's far more likely to proliferate in the world than, say, the availability of some of the high-end platforms. And we see that human performance needs to be integrated with the other things that the program is delivering, and the other programs are being challenged by. As an example, I'm encouraging the folks in defence science to look at real-time physiological and cognitive load monitoring, because this will be a key input into digitising the human. So when we talk about human-machine teams, we can maximise the human part of that interaction, reduce the load on the human, and get the most out of our machine partners. Next slide, thanks. I think that's all I've really got to say at this point. I'm happy to take your questions. As I say, these are exciting times, and I look forward to hearing your questions and the coming discussion. Cheers.